My fiancée told me the wedding was canceled unless I apologized to her ex. I replied, then the wedding's canceled. She didn't take me seriously until the venue contacted her to confirm it was officially called off. My name is Mark, I am 32, and I work in IT support for a mid-sized logistics company. I live outside Columbus, and my weeks are pretty routine: commute, gym, dinner, sleep, repeat. My fiancée is Jenna, 29, a dental office manager. We have been together 3 years, engaged for 6 months, and we do not live together yet because we agreed to wait until after the wedding to combine leases. Up until last month, I would have told anyone we were solid. Not perfect, but normal adult problems. Schedules, money conversations, family boundaries. The kind of stuff you solve with calendars and honest talks. Jenna has an ex named Ryan. They dated before me, on and off, and she says it ended because he was immature and could not commit. Fine. I have my own history too. The difference is I do not drag it into the present. Ryan still floats around her life in weird ways. Mutual friends, random group events, and the occasional text that she insists is harmless. I did not love it, but I also did not want to be the controlling guy who bans friendships. So I kept it simple. I said I am not interested in him being part of our marriage in any capacity. That should have been easy. Then Jenna started wedding planning like it was a military operation where I was the unpaid intern. Every decision came with a tone. If I asked a question, she acted like I was slowing her down on purpose. If I disagreed, she would go quiet and then punish me with icy one-word answers for the rest of the night. 2 weeks ago, she told me Ryan was coming to the wedding. Not invited by me. Not even as a plus one. She said he was coming because he helped introduce her to one of the vendors years ago, and it would be rude not to include him. That made 0 sense, but she said it like it was obvious and I was being dense. I told her no. Calm, clear, no drama. I said I am not getting married with her ex sitting there watching it happen. She rolled her eyes and said I was insecure. Then she hit me with something that made my stomach drop. She said the wedding was canceled unless I apologized to Ryan for being disrespectful about him. I thought she was bluffing. I said okay, then the wedding is canceled. And I meant it. She laughed like I had just told a joke, grabbed her keys, and left. The last thing she texted me that night was that I would come crawling back once I realized how much money was already spent. I did not crawl. I started making calls. The next morning I called the venue first. I did not yell. I did not give a dramatic speech. I simply asked what the cancellation policy was and what steps were required to officially terminate the contract. They told me both parties had signed, but either one of us could request cancellation. There would be a financial penalty depending on timing. I asked them to email me the form. While I waited, I called the caterer and the photographer. Same tone, same question. I kept it practical. If the wedding was conditional on me apologizing to her ex, then it was not a wedding I was interested in funding. Jenna texted around noon. She sent a screenshot of a honeymoon Airbnb confirmation and wrote, "Hope you are proud of yourself." Non-refundable. I replied that I was handling the venue cancellation and that we could split whatever losses were legally ours. I kept it neutral. No insults. No threats. She immediately called. The first thing she said was, "Are you seriously trying to embarrass me?" That word stuck out. Embarrass. I told her I am not apologizing to a man who has no place in our marriage. I also said if she truly believes the wedding should hinge on that, then canceling it is the logical outcome. She shifted tactics fast. Suddenly, it was not about Ryan. It was about me disrespecting her judgment. She said I was making her choose sides and that healthy adults do not give ultimatums. I reminded her she gave the ultimatum. Apologize to Ryan or the wedding is canceled. I just accepted her terms. There was a long silence. Then she said, "You are overreacting." I did not mean actually canceled. That was the first crack. I asked her directly if Ryan was coming to the wedding. She hesitated. Then she said he would only come if I could be mature. That told me everything. I submitted the cancellation form that afternoon. I did not do it impulsively. I read the contract twice. The deposit was significant but not devastating. I can absorb my half without ruining my finances. It would hurt, but not as much as starting a marriage where my boundaries are negotiable based on her mood. 3 days later, the venue emailed both of us confirming receipt and asking Jenna to acknowledge the cancellation. That is when she realized I was not posturing. She showed up at my apartment that night without calling. She was not laughing anymore. When Jenna knocked, it was close to 9 at night. I had already finished dinner and was answering emails. I almost did not open the door, but I figured avoiding her would just drag this out. She walked in like she still lived there, dropped her purse on my counter, and immediately started in. She said I blindsided her, that canceling without another discussion was extreme, that I made her look unstable to the venue coordinator. She said I was focusing on the wrong issue, that this was about trust. According to her, if I trusted her, I would not feel threatened by a man she dated years ago. She kept repeating that he was important to her growth and that cutting him out would be immature. I told her I am not threatened. I am unwilling to celebrate the start of my marriage with her ex in the audience because she thinks optics matter more than my comfort. She snapped and called me controlling. Then she said something that shifted the entire conversation. She said Ryan felt disrespected by the way I talked about him. I asked when exactly I talked about him to Ryan. She hesitated again. Then she admitted she had shown him screenshots of our private argument about the wedding guest list. She said she wanted his perspective because he knows her well. That was the first time I felt actual clarity instead of frustration. This was not about inviting an ex. This was about triangulation. She was running our conflict through him and then expecting me to apologize for having an opinion about my own wedding. I told her that sharing our private conversations with an ex crossed a boundary for me. She shrugged and said I was being dramatic. According to her, I should be grateful she has friends who care enough to weigh in. Friends. That word again. I asked her directly if she was still emotionally attached to him. She got angry instantly. Said I was disgusting for implying that. Said if she wanted Ryan, she would not be engaged to me. That answer sounded rehearsed. I did not raise my voice. I told her this is exactly why I canceled. Because instead of respecting a simple boundary, she escalated and involved the one person guaranteed to destabilize things. She looked at me like I had betrayed her. Then she said something I did not expect. She said if I undo the cancellation and apologize to Ryan, she will forgive me for embarrassing her. Forgive me. That was when I realized this was not a misunderstanding. It was a power test, and she was still assuming I would fold. When she said she would forgive me, it landed wrong. Not dramatic, not explosive, just wrong in a quiet, final way. I looked around my apartment for a second, at my couch, my kitchen counter, the place I pay for and keep stable. Then I looked back at her and realized she was still talking like this was a negotiation where she held leverage. I told her we were done for tonight and that she needed to leave. She blinked like she did not process it. I repeated it calmly. This conversation is over. You need to go home. She crossed her arms and said she was not finished. She said adults do not walk away when things get uncomfortable. The irony was almost impressive. I did not argue. I walked to the door and opened it. She stood there staring at me, waiting for me to soften, waiting for me to apologize for setting a boundary inside my own apartment. I told her this is my place. You are here as a guest. I am asking you to leave. Her voice changed, sharper. She said I was trying to intimidate her, that this was emotionally abusive, that canceling the wedding and now physically removing her proved I was unstable. I stayed calm. I said there is nothing unstable about asking someone to leave your home when they are disrespecting you. She grabbed her purse but did not move toward the door. Instead, she tried one more angle. She said if I force her out, we are really over. That was the second power test. I told her yes. If that is what it takes for you to understand I am serious, then yes. She stared at me for a long moment like she expected me to crack. When I did not, she walked past me and into the hallway. Before leaving, she turned and said you are going to regret this when you realize you threw away a marriage over your ego. I said I am not throwing away a marriage. I am refusing to start one like this. Then I closed the door. I locked it. Not dramatically, just mechanically. I stood there for a minute afterward to make sure she was actually gone and not waiting for me to reopen it. She texted 10 minutes later. Long paragraphs about how cold I was, how disappointed her parents would be, how people would talk. Not one sentence about respecting my boundary. That was when the calm really set in. Because if kicking her out of my apartment felt like relief instead of panic, that told me everything I needed to know. After I locked the door, the messages kept coming. At first it was anger. Then it shifted to guilt. She said I embarrassed her in front of the venue coordinator. She said her mom was asking questions. She said people were going to assume she did something terrible. I noticed something. Every text centered on her image, her humiliation, her inconvenience. Not once did she say she understood why I was uncomfortable with Ryan being involved in our relationship. Around midnight, she called 3 times in a row. I let it ring out. I was not going to have another circular conversation where she reframed my boundary as aggression. The next morning, there were more messages. This time she was calmer. She said we needed to fix this before it got out of hand. She suggested we meet for coffee and talk like adults. She also added that Ryan thought this whole thing was a misunderstanding and that he was willing to accept my apology privately if that made it easier. That line did it. The fact that he knew enough details to have an opinion meant she was still feeding him updates in real time. Our relationship was apparently group chat material. I responded once. I said I am not apologizing to him, and I am not continuing a relationship where my fiancée prioritizes her ex over basic boundaries. I wish you well. She immediately replied that I was being dramatic again and that blocking her would prove I never loved her. I did not argue. I did not explain further. I blocked her number. Then I blocked her on social media. Instagram, Facebook, even LinkedIn because I know how these things go. I did not want indirect messages, public posts aimed at me, or mutual friends acting as messengers. It was not done in rage. It was strategic. If I left one channel open, she would use it to pull me back into debate. And debate was her strength. She thrived in gray areas where she could reframe things until I was defending myself instead of addressing the original issue. Blocking her was not about punishing her. It was about ending the cycle cleanly. An hour later, my phone lit up with an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It was Ryan. I stared at the voicemail notification for a full minute before listening to it. Ryan's voice was calm. Too calm. He said he heard things had gotten out of hand and that he did not want to be the reason a marriage fell apart. He said he respected me and hoped we could clear the air man to man. That phrasing alone told me this was not accidental involvement. He felt entitled to step in. He also said Jenna was really upset and that she tends to react emotionally when she feels cornered. He framed himself as the reasonable one, the mediator. I did not call him back. Instead, I saved the voicemail and took a screenshot of the call log. Not because I planned to escalate anything, but because documentation matters when stories start shifting. About an hour later, my sister texted asking what was going on. Jenna had apparently called her crying, saying I abruptly canceled the wedding over a minor guest list disagreement and then blocked her without explanation. That was fast. I called my sister and gave her the short version. No dramatics, just facts. Jenna invited her ex to the wedding against my wishes. She shared our private arguments with him. She demanded I apologize to him or the wedding was off. I accepted that condition. My sister went quiet for a second and then said that is not a minor disagreement. Exactly. By mid-afternoon, Jenna tried reaching me through email. Subject line, please just listen. I read it once. It was more of the same. She said she felt attacked and unsupported. She said Ryan was only trying to help. She said blocking her was cruel and immature. She also slipped in that canceling the venue without her agreement could have legal consequences for me if she decided to pursue damages. That part was interesting. Not because I was worried. The contract clearly allowed cancellation by either party, but because it showed her mindset. This was no longer about repairing anything. It was about leverage. Late that evening, Ryan texted again from a different number. He said avoiding the conversation makes you look guilty. I blocked that number too. At that point, a pattern was obvious. Jenna was not trying to fix our relationship privately. She was building a narrative where I was unstable and unreasonable. And Ryan was not a bystander. He was participating. That confirmed something I had been hesitant to say out loud. This was never just about a wedding guest. It was about whether I was willing to compete with her ex for influence inside my own relationship. 2 days passed without direct contact because I had closed every door she tried to use. That did not stop the ripple effects. A mutual friend, Kevin, messaged me asking if I was okay. He said Jenna told their group chat that I had a jealousy issue and sabotaged the wedding after spiraling over nothing. According to her version, Ryan was invited out of courtesy and I reacted like she had cheated. I called Kevin instead of texting back. I laid out the timeline in simple terms. She invited her ex. I said no. She made the wedding conditional on me apologizing to him. I accepted. She involved him in private arguments. I ended it. Kevin was quiet for a while. Then he said that was not how she presented it. Of course it was not. That afternoon I received an email from Jenna's mother asking if we could talk. It was polite but pointed. She said marriages require compromise and that pride should not ruin a future. That word again. Pride. I responded respectfully. I said this was not about pride. It was about boundaries and trust. I told her I was not comfortable marrying someone who involved her ex in our conflicts and made my participation conditional on appeasing him. She did not reply. Later that night, Jenna showed up at my apartment building again. I know because my downstairs neighbor texted me that someone was buzzing repeatedly. I did not answer. I had already made it clear she was not welcome. Instead, she sent one final email. It was longer than the others. Less angry. More strategic. She said she was willing to uninvite Ryan if that is what it took to move forward. But she needed reassurance that I would not humiliate her like that again. She also asked that I apologize to her for overreacting and for canceling the venue without giving her a chance to calm down. There it was. She would remove Ryan as a guest, but only if I admitted fault for standing my ground. I read it twice to make sure I was not misinterpreting it. It was not an apology. It was a trade. And I realized something uncomfortable but necessary. If I agreed, I would be setting the precedent that whenever she pushed too far and I resisted, I would eventually absorb the blame to restore peace. That is not a partnership. That is training. So I did not negotiate. I forwarded the email to myself for record keeping. Then I contacted the venue one more time to confirm the cancellation was finalized and non-reversible without a brand new contract. They confirmed it was closed. There was no going back now. Not administratively. And not personally. The following week was quieter on the surface, but not actually calm. Jenna stopped trying to contact me directly. Instead, I started hearing secondhand updates. A co-worker of hers apparently told a mutual acquaintance that I had cold feet. Someone else heard that I was insecure about her past and could not handle being with a woman who had history. It was interesting how consistent the framing was. In every version, I was fragile, overwhelmed, threatened. Never once was the story that she demanded I apologize to her ex as a condition of marriage. I did not respond publicly. I did not make posts or try to correct the narrative in every circle. That is a losing game. People believe what aligns with their prior opinions. Instead, I focused on logistics. We had already planned to move into a new apartment together after the wedding. The lease application was pending. I called the property manager and withdrew my portion formally. I asked for written confirmation that I was no longer attached to the file. I did not want my name lingering anywhere she could use it. I also reviewed the vendor contracts to ensure my financial exposure was capped. The deposit losses were real, but manageable. I paid my share immediately and kept the receipts. Around this time, one more unexpected thing happened. Ryan emailed me directly, not from a burner number, not anonymously, from his actual work address. He wrote that he felt obligated to step in because Jenna was spiraling and blaming herself. He said he never intended to cause division and that he respected my position as her future husband. Future husband. That phrase was either tone-deaf or deliberate. He also said that if I wanted to meet for coffee and clear misunderstandings, he was open to it. He emphasized that mature men communicate rather than shut people out. I read it carefully. There was no acknowledgement that inserting himself into our private conflict was inappropriate. No admission that receiving screenshots of our arguments crossed a line. Just a soft suggestion that I was the one avoiding growth. That was the final piece for me. Because I realized something simple. If I married Jenna, Ryan would not fade into the background. He would remain a consultant in our disputes. A shadow vote. And Jenna would continue to present that as reasonable. So I replied once. I said there is no misunderstanding. This is not your relationship to mediate. Do not contact me again. Then I blocked his email. That night, for the first time since this started, my phone was completely silent. And the silence felt clean. About a week after everything went silent, I ran into Jenna at a grocery store near my place. Not planned. Just bad timing. She saw me first. I could tell because she froze mid-aisle, then straightened her posture like she was preparing for an audience. I considered turning around, but I decided I would not act like I had something to avoid. We ended up facing each other near the dairy section. She looked different. Not devastated. Not remorseful. Composed. She said hi like we were co-workers who had not spoken in a few days. I nodded and said hello. There was a pause where she clearly expected me to open the door to conversation. I did not. So she did. She said she wished I had handled things differently. That canceling publicly instead of working through it privately hurt her deeply. She emphasized publicly, as if I had posted a billboard instead of contacting vendors directly. I told her I handled it privately. Vendors are part of wedding logistics. They needed accurate information. She sighed and said, "You know what I mean." Then she said something that confirmed I made the right call. She said Ryan agreed that we both escalated and that with proper communication, we could have avoided this whole mess. There it was again. Ryan as evaluator. Ryan as judge. I asked her one final question. If we rewinded to that night, and I said I am not apologizing, would you have respected that without consequences? She hesitated. Not long, but long enough. She said I just needed you to show me you could put my feelings first. That answer was honest. And revealing. Putting her feelings first meant subordinating my own boundary. It meant accepting that her comfort with her ex outweighed my discomfort. I told her calmly that I am not interested in a relationship structured that way. She looked annoyed then. Not sad. Annoyed. Like I was being difficult for no reason. She said, I guess that is it then. I said yes. That is it. We stood there another second. Then she picked up her basket and walked away without looking back. I did not feel anger or regret, just confirmation. Because even at the end, she framed the issue as my failure to prioritize her feelings, not her failure to protect our relationship from outside influence. And that difference is not small. It is foundational. It has been 3 months since the wedding was officially canceled. The financial fallout is settled. We split the non-refundable deposits according to the contracts we signed. There was no lawsuit, no dramatic legal threat, just paperwork and receipts. The social version of events stabilized too. The people who wanted to believe I panicked still believe that. The people who asked for my side heard it and made their own judgment. I did not chase validation. Jenna and I have not spoken since the grocery store. A mutual friend mentioned recently that she and Ryan have been spending a lot of time together again. I did not ask follow-up questions. It is not my business anymore. If anything, it reinforces the instinct I had when she insisted he needed to be part of our wedding day. Looking back, the actual trigger was small on paper. An invitation. An apology, a demand framed as compromise. But the structure underneath it was not small. She involved her ex in our private conflict. She treated his opinion as relevant to our engagement. She positioned me as someone who needed to earn approval from a man who had no place in my future. And when I refused, she escalated instead of recalibrating. What stands out most is not the argument itself. It is how quickly she moved to control the narrative once I did not comply. Calling my sister. Messaging friends, suggesting I was unstable. That was not panic. That was damage control. If I had apologized to Ryan, the wedding would have gone forward. On the surface, everything would have looked fine. Photos, smiles, speeches. But I would have known that when push came to shove, my boundary was negotiable and her ex had a voice in our dynamic. That knowledge would not disappear after the honeymoon. People keep asking if I regret how firm I was. The honest answer is no. Canceling a wedding is expensive and inconvenient. Divorcing someone who does not respect your boundaries is far worse. I did not lose a marriage. I avoided one that was already structured against me. And the fact that she only believed I was serious once the venue confirmed it was canceled tells me everything about how she viewed my resolve. She thought I was bluffing. I was not.
As plastic
Might be
does.
more expensive, though.
Yeah. What's your health worth?
Right.
But it's also reusable, which plastic
absolutely.
isn't.
Just wash it. Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like it's probably economical in the long run because plastic wrap you don't reuse unless you're a psycho.
And it gets all over the the world and
everywhere. I'm sure you've seen the Pacific garbage patch, which is crazy, right? These are bags, and these bags are called Wowie, WOWE. Right, and what is this?
It's another food storage, choice option.
It's paper or no, it's cloth.
Cloth, but clean cloth. Yeah.
And so you use this just
like for bread, it's
up?
really good. Bread, cookies, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, we use those. Yeah.
And so, is this all these different products listed on your website so people can?
They're listed on the Million Marker. There's a card there to scan the QR code, and you can go to that.
And but it would be nice if it was like a one. So if you scan the QR code, is there a one-stop shop? Like people listening to this right now, can we send them to a website that can? Yeah. What website would that be?
I can't remember. Look at the card.
This one, tips for a detox journey. So this is the QR. So if I scan this right now, it'll take me there.
Yeah.
That's my phone. This world that we live in, we're not ready. Okay, it says the website is millionmarker.com. Chemical glossary. So this is the chemical glossary that's on this card, but it doesn't. I don't know.
Not the products, right?
It doesn't say the products. It says partners. Is that?
So there's products on that other website I told you, on Plastic Your Life.
unplasticyourlife.com. So that's a place where people can go and see these products.
And
Here
then,
it is.
So there's 3 steps. Unplasticyourlife.com, Action Hub, protect yourself. And then it can tell you how to protect yourself against various things in different rooms. I have it by rooms, I think.
What is this one, Jamie? This one says...
This is it. This is the same website. I just already went to the
Yeah.
Action.
Oh,
Hub
so
and
when you go to
protect yourself part.
unplasticyourlife.com,
Yeah,
it takes
goes
you
to
to OSP
And then
Society,
go to the Action Hub.
OPS
Go to the
Society.
Yeah,
Action
it
Hub.
redirects to this website.
Got it. And then go to the Action Hub, protect your family. And then are the products listed down there? Okay, yeah, there it is. Okay, okay. Non-plastic bags, non-steel cookware. Got it. Replace the plastic cutting boards with wood. So I think some people use titanium, which is fine too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what above that? What's above that? Steel single-use drinking water containers. Never use plastics to store your food in. Never heat plastics. Holy. Save your skin by selecting personal care products with natural ingredients, such in glass or tin packaging. Oh, boy. So disturbing.
Washing your clothes.
Yeah.
By the way, we didn't talk about smell,
Smell.
but everything that's fragranced has phthalates.
Of course.
And, you know, like you think you're doing good if you hang that little pine tree in your car.
Not good?
Not good. and you plug in things in the wall that's supposed to clean up your air and, you know, refresh your air and so on. Not good.
There's ones that are in cars now, like certain cars. I think Mercedes has one where you refill it and you can, it actually will spray air freshener through the
Oof.
vents.
I
Does
don't
Mercedes
like that.
do that? I think it's Mercedes, which makes sense. You know, luxury. I want to smell like lavender as I'm driving.
Right.
Ah, look at me in my
You know,
luxurious car, smelling
if
lavender,
something-
dying of chemical exposure.
We asked women on our study. We said, "What do you use?" And then we said, "Was it fragranced?" And anything where they said that was fragranced, their body burden of phthalates was higher.
Of course. What about natural deodorants?
I don't know.
Yeah,
have to look it up,
because
yeah.
I use natural deodorant to try to avoid a lot of that stuff.
On the product for it on their website, it says it's a miscellaneous dangerous good, I think. I don't know
What?
what that is.
What? It says miscellaneous dangerous goods.
Maybe it's when they ship it or something.
what are you
Other
looking at?
dangerous substances. The interior of the vehicle will be fragrance. It says it right there.
Oh.
This is under Mercedes, under their smell. Aroma system, Pacific mood. Ooh, I want a Pacific mood. I'm living on the coast. I'm fabulous. And it says miscellaneous dangerous goods, other dangerous substances. That's crazy that it's labeled that way. The interior of the vehicle can be fragranced to suit your own individual preference with the air balance package. Flacon Pacific Mood lemon and orange top notes accompanied by a blend of spices. But meanwhile, it's probably not good for you. So what is in there? They're engineered specifically. Does it say what? They're also subject to rigorous testing, which means each part comes fully certified. In the end, you can be sure that your vehicle will perform up to its potential, mile after
See
mire.
what this word meant. I don't know if you want to try this.
Whoa. Can you say that word, doctor?
Oh, no.
Gefahrguttenzeichen.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it means miscellaneous dangerous goods, but
But why, I mean, why
it might
is
not.
Other dangerous, I mean, they're calling it dangerous? That sounds really crazy.
Miscellaneous dangerous goods.
Look at it, like hazard warnings. This is crazy. Like, why? But why would they say
Put it on
that?
their website, yeah.
And then you're spraying it and you're breathing it in.
It could be very well like one of those California rules where they say like this building has got dangerous chemicals that could cause cancer in people, and it like has to be on
This is a
everything.
Right.
German, yeah. Mhm.
But
Yeah,
it's just
so-
weird that that's
Sure.
in the actual stuff that you
Yeah.
breathe in and smell. You know, I've heard another thing that's really bad for you is incense.
Probably varies with the, what's in it. I wouldn't blanket all incense. I haven't studied that.
Well,
so,
let's
yeah.
put that into perplexity. What are the? Because I know candles are bad for you. Scented candles, in particular.
Scented,
right?
Yes, there's the aroma again.
Yeah.
See, one of the things that phthalates do is they cause something to hold scent retain scent. So they're put into perfume, and they're put into makeup, and they're put into, the things you put on your wall. And so, you want something to smell for a long time, you're going to use phthalates.
It says burning incense products, smoke, and chemicals that can irritate your lungs, worsen asthma and allergies, and with heavy long-term use in poorly ventilated spaces may increase risks for heart disease and some cancers. You think incense, you go over someone's house, they do yoga, they eat vegan, they burn incense, they must be healthy.
Right.
Long-term health risks. Repeated long-term exposure, daily for years, been associated in studies with increased risk of bronchitis, reduced lung function in children, and chronic respiratory symptoms in workers heavily exposed to temple incense. God. Epidemiological studies, mostly in Asian populations with heavy daily use, have linked long-term incense exposure to higher rates of cardiovascular problems, hypertension, coronary artery disease, stroke, chronic limb, what's that word?
Ischemia.
Ischemia. What's that mean? What does ischemia mean? That can't be good. It sounds terrible. What is ischemia? What is ischemia? Lack of blood flow to part of a body, usually because of an artery is narrowed or blocked. Severe or prolonged, the affected tissue can be damaged or die. Oh, great. Oh, wonderful. So you think about incense, you think like healthy, natural people. Oh, they burn incense. It sounds lovely. It sounds like they're spiritual. Incense. I used to love incense. I used to use it all the time. Thought it was cool. Made you be more peaceful. Incense. Bad for you. Everything's bad for you. You know what's bad for you? These straws, if you trip with them. A lot of people have died. These are metal straws.
Really?
They've died because they're on their phone and they're not paying attention. They stub their toe and fall, and this thing goes through their eyeball, and they die.
Phew.
Yeah.
Okay. I won't recommend that.
But also, you could die just falling. I mean, if you're falling and you're holding a steel straw, throw it to the side. That's my advice.
So if you want to do this little experiment of one that we're talking about.
Okay.
And of one, unless Jamie wants to do it too.
Jamie's in. Look at him. He's down.
Then Jenna or somebody on her team, if you had an hour, half an hour, I don't know how long it took, call you, said, ask you, what did you use? What did you use? What did you use for this,
Right.
this, right? And then they'll recommend what to change.
Right. I recently underwent this plasmapheresis thing. Yeah. And that's supposed to remove a lot of that stuff from your blood, correct? So I'll tell you what, the next day, I was very tired that day, exhausted that day. But the next day afterwards, I felt like lighter. I felt like, whoa, this is crazy. I felt like I had more energy. It was like kind of late at night. I was like, I'm not tired at all. This is weird. I felt different, And,
so that would be great. Are you going to do it again?
No, I just did it. I mean, I would do it again, but I just did it a few days ago.
I was just wondering, if you measured chemicals in your urine before you did that.
I should have done that.
And then after that,
I don't have any pee laying around from before.
No.
I don't like. But I could do it now, and maybe I have very low levels, and we could attribute that to because I haven't done the best job. Well, like I said, I did get rid of my plastic coffee machine at home. I did that about 3 or 4 weeks ago. One of the things it's done is it's made my morning coffee a lot harder to get. It's more of like a ritual now because I use a steel water boiler thing that heats it up to 200 degrees. And then I have a steel French press and I grind the beans in a steel thing. It's, right? And then I pour the beans in the French press. And it takes 15 minutes rather than 30 seconds.
How does it taste?
It tastes way better. Well, I'm a big coffee drinker. I
too.
love coffee,
Me
but
too.
I like it black. Like I love the flavor of
Yeah,
coffee.
me too.
I really do. And so it just tastes better. It tastes French press. I think is the best way to drink coffee anyway.
Yeah.
And so I kind of decided, like, why am I'm avoiding all these microplastics. I don't drink out of plastic or paper cups. I do all these different things. Why am I still using a plastic coffee machine? I look at that thing every morning, and I was like, yeah, but it's going to give me coffee right now. So I press the button to get my coffee right now.
Yeah.
Then I was like, that's stupid. So now I only use
Cool.
something like this.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'd be interested to see if maybe I have low levels because I certainly feel like my body, it felt refreshed, like I had less inflammation, but that's like a 2-hour procedure. It's a pain in the butt. It's, you got to sit there for 2 hours. You look like a psycho. I should have taken a photo of what I looked like while I was doing it because I was laying there and I had like cords in this arm and cords in that arm. So I had blood coming out of that arm and going back into that arm. It's really kind of nutty.
How expensive?
I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. But I'm sure it's not cheap.
Yeah.
But the benefits of it in terms of like the people that I know that have done it said it's a game changer in terms of your recovery, marked recovery levels, much better sleep. Like if you're wearing an Oura ring or a Whoop strap or something along those lines, you get much better recovery. And I think that's probably the case with me. I feel pretty good. But I do a lot of stuff,